Hello out there and welcome to another episode of your favorite LinkedIn talk show. I'm talking, of course, of Veritas Live. I'm your host. As always, I will be positioned to the left-hand side of your screen for the majority of the conversation where I ask questions. But my first question I pose to you, the audience out there. Where are you tuning in from? Let us know in the comments below. Are you on an island off the coast of the Caribbean? Are you in one of the original 13 colonies? Are you in New Zealand, Old Zealand, Middle Earth? Just let me know in the comments below. I want to give you a much needed, well-deserved shout out, and keep that comment box open because we want to engage with you today. What questions do you have? What answers to the questions we have? What tidbits do you have? Or if it's just the occasional hi mom, all of that is completely satisfactory and encouraged. I've got my comment box open. I'm responding, and I'll stop the show at the drop of a hat to give you a shout out. So try me, test me. Let's do it. Use the hashtag Veritas Live if you feel so inclined to prove to your kids that you're still hip, that you've still got it. You still put a pound sign in front of words because you can do that. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about the episode today titled Skills to Pay the Bills. Let's give a tale of the tape. Per the IDC, within the IT business services across the entire global region, cloud-related services is the #1 main acceleration growth factor. It's growing 20% year over year, and it's continuing to grow at around that rate for the foreseeable future. And if that is shocking to you, then you have not been watching many Veritas Live episodes, because we are bringing you shocking cloud statistics every single episode. But what does that mean? Well, we've got cloud-related jobs popping up left and right. We've got cloud services spending growing exponentially. So what that's going to create is a skills gap. And now I want to pause here for a second so you can start jotting this down, because this is going to be really important when you try to convince your nephew to abandon that liberal arts degree and focus more on cloud. Essentially, this is going to be a really big opportunity for those nieces and nephews that are looking to get into the industry. It's also going to be a big opportunity for all of us to understand what's going on in the industry. Additionally, Research 9 did a survey of a ton of different IT leaders across the entire globe. 70% of them stated that this cloud skills gap is going to be an urgent need for their business. 46% of those respondents state that this is either going to slow their business down significantly or it's going to create an existential crisis. Now, here at Veritas Live, we do not take existential crises lightly. So we want to talk about it. We want to dive into those skills. We want to dive into those gaps. What are those certifications that could help? Why is this relevant to all of us? And in order to do that, we have gotten an incredible expert, one of my favorite guests, Karl Rautenstrauch. Karl Rautenstrauch, that just rolls off the tongue. I said that effortlessly, didn't I? He's the principal PM of Azure Storage at Microsoft. Karl, welcome so much to the program. I'm so glad you're here.
Hey, Johnny, thanks for having me. And I mean, admirable job with that last name, honestly. I mean, you may say it better than I do.
Karl Rautenstrauch. I'm going to get that right, I promise. Now, I see you're wearing a Bills shirt. I love it, a sports fan. If you watched Veritas Live, you know we just want to start out with a little bit of an icebreaker. But before I do, I want to give a little shout out here. I've got my comments. Ooh, we've got Dublin. We've got India, Atlanta. Ooh, Sangley, I don't know what that is. KSA, Pune, Ireland. I love it. Welcome to the program. Keep those comments going, whatever else you got. Now, Karl, icebreaker question. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Lay it on me.
Feeling. All right. So I know you like games. I like games. I want to talk about games. I know you're a sports fan. I see the Bills polo.
Absolutely.
Halloween's right around the corner. So I'm trying to think, what question could I ask to perfectly encapsulate all three of these topics? So here's what I got. Okay, here's what I got. I didn't really find one question, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna throw this out there. What is your all-time favorite Elder Scrolls game? What's the best EA Sports title? What's the best year of Madden? Why are the Jets good now? What's the deal with the Bills Mafia? Why do they hate tables? Is Russell Wilson the new Kirk Cousins? Will the Orlando Magic ever win a basketball game? What's going on with the Lakers from behind the arc? What's your favorite all-time Halloween candy, and why is it Reese's? Also, what's your favorite all-time Halloween movie? And what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? So I'm just gonna go ahead and pass that off to you and take another sip of coffee.
Wow, outstanding. Well, thanks to my photographic memory, I'll be able to remember every one of those. Instead, I'm going to go with the ones that I selectively pulled out of there. So, best EA Sports title is unquestionably NHL '94, which not only shows you my love of hockey, but also gives you a hint into my age. Why are the Jets good? Well, I don't know that that's confirmed yet, but we'll find out in 2 weeks when they play the Bills. Again, go Bills. And no, I'm sorry, it's not Reese's Pieces. It is always Reese's the peanut butter cups. I mean, come on, that is
Agreed.
a perfect balance of chocolate and peanut butter. Cannot go wrong.
I think you nailed it. No, Bill's Mafia. I want to know, what do you guys have against tables?
So the tables, it's a great question. There was an issue during the Bills' second Super Bowl where Thurman Thomas lost his helmet. I'm thinking that at some point there was a folding table involved, and that's kind of brought itself into the ethos. But I can tell you, as a card-carrying member of Bill's Mafia, that is one thing that I have not done, don't plan to do, and no matter how many Labatt Blues I drink, I don't think anybody can talk me into. So go Bills, but I will leave the tables alone.
Oh, no, we've got a surprise for our audience out there. Behind you, we have gotten a table, and we've got a very tall structure for you to jump off of, and we're going to do it live today on Veritas Live. Maybe when you guys win the Super Bowl this year, we can film you doing that.
Okay, that's it. We've got a deal.
I like it. Mark this, air this again. I think they've got a shot, so let's just jump in. Okay, now I want to know about the cloud. I want to know about some of these roles. So shifting gear a little bit, I'll start out with more of a basic question, just kind of get a foundation here. But what do you see as the most in-demand role within the cloud, or in-demand roles within the cloud, and how is that shifting because of our new cloud landscape and all of the adoption of multi-cloud that we have in the industry?
Yeah, I love it. Fantastic questions. And there's really, there's multiple answers to that, but two areas that I see as just incredibly in demand, and I don't see this going away, are security and compliance. And I'm going to merge those two because I think when you talk about governance, when you talk about security, when you talk about compliance, that's really all wrapped up in one bucket. And in a world where we see increasing threat vectors, we see more attacks, we see ransomware stories every day, security fundamentals are no longer kind of a nice to have and a specialty. They're a fundamental. So any education you can acquire on security, whether that's formal through a college course, whether that's dedicated security training, whether that's focused on a specific cloud and the technologies that cloud brings to the table, you will make yourself invaluable and you will immediately rise to the top of that bucket in the resume stack. And then the second one is going to surprise folks, I think, and that is a new emerging field called FinOps, or financial ops. So you often hear stories from customers who have moved to the cloud that fall back on what I like to call cloud remorse. So I didn't measure before I cut. I didn't look before I leapt. I started moving applications into the cloud, and then I received that first bill the next month or a quarter later and saw this massive cost that I didn't expect from the operational expenses of having my applications live in a public cloud. So FinOps is a great practice where you're using either third-party multi-cloud tools or the tools that a cloud provider like Microsoft Azure brings to the table to monitor your spend, to monitor your resource utilization, and to find opportunities to optimize. And I think a great time to apply those tools, and something that is also a skill set, is a migration that includes right sizing. So cloud providers, Microsoft included, provide you with tools that allow you to assess an application environment that you want to bring into that public cloud. For us, that's Azure Migrate. And that assessment will give you the opportunity to right-size machines to make sure you're not spending more than you need to tailor and provide the correct price performance storage tier for those applications. and avoid those surprises when that first bill comes. So take the time, learn FinOps best practices, learn the migration assessment tooling, and make sure to utilize them in that move. And those two areas will really make you invaluable to prospective employers.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, essentially, cloud's been around for a little while, but there's still so many things that we're still learning.
Absolutely.
There's so many variables that are out there. It's almost like we're diving out to sea and realizing that there's these undercurrents that we didn't realize. So that FinOps role is huge, because I hear that from customers all the time is, we're locked in, we're trapped. What can we do? And that's something that we can create these guardrails. And of course, security is always going to be top of mind. This threat landscape is out of control. This month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Shout out. That's really interesting. Now, if you're out there for IT professionals looking to fill some of those roles or add some of those skills to their resume, what are the top areas for certifications, or what other skills do they need to pursue? How do they stand out in the resume landscape of just applying to LinkedIn? And there's, you see those jobs on LinkedIn, 86 applicants to this job. What are ways that individuals can stand out with their resume?
Yeah, the good news is that it's still possible. And I don't want to say it's easy. Nothing is ever easy. But, Johnny, you really hit the nail on the head. It feels like public cloud has been around forever. And it has been a long time. I've been part of the Azure team here at Microsoft for 9 years. But the reality is that this is still emerging. There are customers, there are industries that are taking their first steps into public cloud now, over a decade into this introduction into the industry. So you can still separate yourself from the pack. You can still get that job focused on cloud. And one of the simplest ways to do that is to pursue certifications. And I know, as somebody who went through the certification process in the past, who still does, that there's a reputation and a stigma out there around paper certifications. That's a checkbox on a resume. I made it through the first pass. Now we get to understand if that person really knows what they're doing. Well, in cloud, it's a little different. The cloud certifications tend to be very hands-on. You have to show that you have acumen with the tools, with the CLIs, with the shells. So having a certification from Azure, AWS, GCP is actually something that really does help with your credibility, because to have earned that certification, you had to have passed the hands-on components. So don't dismiss certifications like you may have in the recent past. They can help you. And there are very few people who have achieved those higher levels of certifications in public cloud.
Yeah, and also I've heard, and I'm just remembering a story that I read on LinkedIn. So take this as anecdotal, but I've heard of all of these different creative ways that individuals have gotten these interviews. There was somebody, I can't remember exactly what they were applying for, but they found a baker that was able to print images onto cakes. They found out a team that they really wanted to be a part of was having a party at this specific location. So they printed their resume on a cake, and they had it they used Uber Eats to deliver this cake resume to this team. And I guarantee that's another way to stand out. Of course, we have those certifications listed on there as well.
That is amazing. Above and beyond.
Above and beyond. And you could also do that. You could print your resume onto a table, jump from a high place, and Bill's Mafia.
I'm coming back on in February, and if they do this, if the miracle happens, we're going to film it live.
I love it. Oh, and that was Nike. I'm seeing in the comments. Thank you. Yes, that was Nike in the Oregon location. So now for the interview process, say they print their resume on a cake, they get the interview. What should an applicant be prepared to demonstrate when they're in that interview process?
So if this is your first time interviewing for a cloud position, really, and this is something that applies across the board in IT, but I think in cloud in particular, you want to come in with an example of something you've done. You say, well, hold on, Karl, I haven't had a job in the public cloud arena before. I have nothing that I can share from a story perspective. every public cloud provider offers free, typically time-boxed subscriptions to their services. So build something. Whether it's a Minecraft server you're deploying in the public cloud, it's a WordPress blog, it's your first Kubernetes deployment, whatever the case may be, build something. Show that you've been eager to apply your skills, you've been eager to get familiarity beyond those certifications. You've gone above and beyond. Pulling back to our last dialogue there, that goes a long way. It shows that you have a growth mindset, that you are willing to practice what you preach, and you are willing to really do whatever it takes to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a hiring manager and you've got two applicants, one has all of the theoretical knowledge and one has actually put something into practice, which one are you most likely going to choose? So it's an easy point. It's an interesting point and something that we can do. Get our hands dirty, make mistakes, just dig in. I remember one of my first interviews after college was I was asked what my greatest strength was. And I said my arms, and I didn't get that job. So don't make that same mistake. That's a true story, and I still remember that. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? What was I doing?
I would have given you points for creativity. I mean, come on.
I think I did get
That's
points because we're friends now. No. Shout out, you know who you are. So now, lastly, what are some future trends within cloud computing, within the cloud computing market? Do you see as the next area for skills development for IT professionals?
Love it. So depending on your interest and your skill set, we've heard a lot about artificial intelligence and machine learning over the last several years. It's become one of those, buzzword bingo type of scenarios. But the reality is that use cases, real world scenarios for AI are creeping into the news every single day. And I don't mean that from an ominous perspective. It's not a Halloween creepy kind of thing. It's just we're seeing more and more of them emerge. And that is a space that is real. We're going to see an increasing investment in AI. And there are a number of ways to get into that field. You don't have to be the person who's coding a deep learning algorithm. You can be somebody who's building a pipeline, right? For those of us who are data centric, you have to have an intelligent way to feed models that will be used for inferencing, for picking out specific things in a video feed or a photo feed. Somebody has to manage that data flow. Somebody has to help curate that data. There's a lot of ways to be in the AI field that don't involve coding. So that is unquestionably one. Containers are absolutely exploding. And containers is another great example where whether you're a developer or you're infrastructure centric, there is something for you. So great field that will continue to emerge. And then the final one I would say is modern analytics. We're seeing more and more Apache Spark deployments, Snowflake, Databricks. These are things that are not going away. So if you're data minded, but you like writing SQL queries, if that's your flavor of data, then a great space to double down in is cloud scale analytics. So 3 fields right there. There are many, many more, but those are 3 massively growing fields and especially interesting.
Yeah, and look, I think regardless of where we are on our own individual career trajectory, it's really important for us to understand these gaps. It's really important for us to understand these opportunities and how we can use this to really bolster our own strengths in the market and in the industry. So Karl, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for shedding some light on the industry, where we're heading, and what we could all be doing. I do have one last question for you. It's not about jumping onto a table.
I was ready.
So for our audience, where could I send them? Where could they go to kind of really dig into any additional resources and sharpen the axe, as it were?
Oh, love it. And so one of the best things about cloud and the need for skilled cloud professionals is the fact that there are a number of training resources that are available for my favorite price, free. And a couple of resources that I'll mention selfishly. Microsoft learn.microsoft.com is a great site with tons of free training that are either career centric or topic centric, simple to navigate, all there for you. You can take a certification path and get that work done. We recently held our annual conference, Microsoft Ignite. All of those sessions are available for free online. You can see very, very deep technical content. You can also see visionary sessions from Scott Guthrie, our cloud leader, Mark Rusinovich, who's just an industry luminary, and many, many more. And there are a couple of sites as well that aren't necessarily free, but have some great, especially multi-cloud topics, like Pluralsight, and LinkedIn Learning has a tremendous amount of content and is very reasonable. So fantastic resources out there. You can spend very little or nothing. Again, my favorite price of free. How can you go wrong?
You can't go wrong. Karl, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Johnny. Thank you.
And again, we're going to make a lot of this available to you to have, to really dig through or to share out. So keep that in mind. Another totally free, totally beneficial thing for you, our Conquer Every Cloud event. If you missed that last week, shame on you, first of all, but don't worry. It is still out there. It's still available for you to digest. We're going to provide a link to that as well, hosted by the hilarious Dr. Ken Jung. We have a ton of technical sessions as well, and I know that there is going to be one or several of them that are going to be valuable to you. So peruse that, dig through that. Also, we are right around the corner. Hallows Eve is spooking up right behind us. It is Cybersecurity Awareness Month after all. So I thought it was only fitting to also share with you our latest blog post on the Uber security breach. And if you are unaware of that Uber security breach, all the more reason to dig into this article, find out what happened, how is this relevant to you, and what we could be doing to better protect ourselves. Check it out, CEC, take advantage of all of your resources. And with that, I bid you adieu, au revoir. Thank you so much for tuning in, for engaging with us. Thank you again to Karl, and we'll see you back here November 15th for the next episode of Veritas Live. Take care.